And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Chess is on the rise now, thanks to the new Netflix documentary. Everyone's talking about chess. Chess is a very popular game. I like chess well enough, although I don't really play it too much because of, well, it's a very competitive tournament scene. I try to play games more for fun. Yes, I know you can play chess for fun, but there's hundreds, if not thousands of books written about the subject. But I do like when you mess with chess and add different things to it, although most chess variants don't do very well. I'm just naturally suspicious of them, especially if they say you can play with multiple players. But what if you can play with multiple colors? And that's kind of what the, well, not good looking cover here of Sovereign Chess. If you saw those on the shelf, you might walk by it and not play it because this looks like a kind of a, yeah, this is someone who decided to make some weird variant on chess. Don't get me wrong, it is a weird variant on chess, but wait till you see the board. Here we go. In this game, this is the setup for a two-player game, so black versus white, although you can set up for a four-player game. But this is the setup for a two-player game, and you'll notice there's colors all over the board. You'll also notice that there's kings of the various colors over there in the corner. There's also an extra queen for white and black, and there's extra pawns, but those pawns aren't used in a two-player game. They're only used for the two different shades of gray if you're playing a four-player game. So the way the game works is first one player will move a piece on the white team. Then the other player decides, do they want to be white and take that as their first move, or do they want to be the other player and take their first move? Now, I'm not going to go over the moves of chess. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you know how to play chess. The pieces in this move pretty much the same as chess with a couple exceptions. First of all, the rook, the bishop, and the queen can only move a maximum of 8 spaces. So this rook can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I could go all the way over there, possibly. But if my queen was here, for example, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I couldn't go to that spot and beyond. So you can't slide completely across the board. Pawns also move slightly different. Just like in normal chess, pawns can move 1 or 2 on their first move if they're on this inner ring. And pawns always can move 1 space towards the center of the board, which means if a pawn is here, it can move 1 space this direction, or it can move 1 space this direction. They still capture diagonally, although they cannot capture en passant. You can still castle. Now, that's the moves. The colors is what we're talking about here. So let's say on my second turn, I move my queen here. I now control the dark blue pieces. At the beginning of the game, there's 8 of those pieces. There's 4 over here and 4 over here. While I'm on this spot, my opponent cannot go on the other blue one. So if they want to take blue from me, they need me to go off of blue, or they need to capture my piece that's on blue. So if I get my piece eventually onto here, now I also control the purple pieces on my turn. Now, if I get this blue, let's say I set this up and eventually the blue queen gets out and the blue queen lands on the red, I also now control the red pieces. So there's like a chain reaction. But if this piece moves off here, I no longer control the blue, which means I also no longer control the red. Pieces cannot be captured unless your opponent controls them. So you can't just go around capturing neutral pieces. But once they control them, you can capture them, which means there's like 7 ways to get out of check now. You know, if your king is in check by, for example, the blue queen here, you can get out of that if I was on the spot by killing my piece that's on that spot. And again, I'm kind of flying chess pieces around, but just talking about it. There's also a way, there's a reason there's kings of various colors. When you get a pawn to the middle 4 squares here, you're going to be able to promote it to a piece, which is why we have the extra black and white queen, because you can promote them. But any pawn of any color, when it gets there, you can change. So if I get this blue pawn to the middle, this middle square area, I can promote it to the blue king, which would make my king disappear, and this is my new king. Sometimes you do that to get out of check. You also can just do a regime change where you get rid of yours king and take a king of another color you control. Although it's a very risky thing to do, because there's fewer pieces of the other color, and it might mean they're out there on the board somewhere. But sometimes you can do it to get out of check. That's basically it. You're going to play the game until you checkmate your opponent's king, whatever color it might be, or until the game ends up in a draw. The actual chess pieces are fine. They're good quality pieces. They have some felt on the bottom of them, easy to move around the board, and then you can store them in a box like this, and it's very colorful. I tend to like colorful games. I'm not sold on the grays, whites. Black's easy to tell apart from the other ones, but these are a little more problematic. Not so much telling the difference between the two of them, but on the board here, this is light gray, this is dark gray. Also, this is purple, this is dark blue. Not always easy to remember which color is which. And there's a good chance if you're colorblind, you may have a problem with the game. There's a lot of different colors with this. Setup is also a bit of a bear. You set up according to a picture in the rulebook. This is the 2-player setup. And then at the end here, they have the 4-player setup. It's a bit of work. I almost wish they had just put a little tiny picture of the piece on the board. It would have been faster. You have the colors here, but you don't know which piece goes where. Now, you can argue and say, well, yeah, it's queen, bishop, rook, pawn, rook, knight. But that's, I mean, again, it just would have been nicer maybe if they had shown that exactly. The rules are decently written, and they explain how to play chess if you don't know how to. But I thought that the regime change in the different ways, that's a little complicated. I get that it's necessary to the game, but that rule wasn't the easiest to understand. But for the most part, I'm happy with the component quality. Oh, not the board, though. The board has the valleys. This is like old-fashioned board. Not good. One of these corners should have been cut to make it a nice 4-way fold. The fact that you're folding the board twice on top of each other, this is pretty bad, unfortunately. So for me, the number one thing I can say here about Sovereign Chess is that it is highly amusing. I know, but that's a good thing for me. It is crazy, the chaos in this game. I mean, there's some interesting things. Like at the beginning of the game, I thought, why? That seemed like a very tournament-style rule. Like the white piece can move here, and then I can take your move or make my own move. I'm like, oh, come on, just make your first move. What does it matter? But there's the very obvious move on each side where you can move your pawn forward 2 spaces. That means in your second turn, your queen can come out and capture a color. For the white player, for both players, it's red. You can get red right away. So that might be the very obvious move. That's the only 2 move get another color. Now, red's not in a position to trounce the other player, but that's kind of fascinating to me. It's fascinating to see the control of the colors. Now, there's a bit of fiddliness I found with who controls what colors. Because if my white is on the pink and I have a pink piece on the yellow and I have a yellow piece on the orange, but then I move off the pink piece, which colors do I have again? Now, we use the kings, since they're not on the board most of the time, to put, to show what color you are in front of you. Which isn't always useful because sometimes you actually play with the kings. I wish they had included an extra piece that was just like, I control this color. That way you can glance in front of the other player and say, those are the colors they control. And in fact, this might even work better as a computer game because everything would be lit up. Like, oh, that's a bad piece. I don't want to move there. That being said, a game that comes with, 4, 8, 12, 14, 15, 14. I believe there's 14 queens in this game. Queens are going to be used all over the place. You're flying your queens around, but you're also using the bishops and knights and rooks and pawns. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Probably die-hard chess fans would not enjoy this, I would imagine. But I really liked it. I mean, I can see some of the flaws, and definitely people who want a smaller, condensed game. I mean, this game is sprawling at the seams, but I enjoyed moving the pieces around. I enjoyed capturing colors. It was entertaining to me. At any given point, I would control not just my 8 pieces, but maybe another 6 or 7 pieces. And once someone starts controlling yellow, am I going to kill the yellow pieces, or am I going to do my best to get their piece that's on yellow, because then I would control them? And if I kill too many yellow pieces, I don't know if I want to take it from you anymore. You can have yellow. That's interesting to me. This will probably be a forgotten chess variant. There's so many of them out there. And I've only played this with 2, and I only have any desire to play it with 2. I don't think 4-player chess works pretty much for a lot of different reasons. But For a two-player, this was entertaining. It's interesting. Probably no game's going to be the same. No books will be written on this one, which means I can play it with someone, maybe even a chess player. Like I can play it with someone who's probably better at me than chess, and it evens the scales slightly. They're still going to whoop me, right? But they're not used to all these colors and all these pieces, and I can take advantage of that chaos a little. Still no luck, but it is a more interesting, wide open board. So if you like chess and you're looking for something that's a little more crazy, then I think you should check out Sovereign Chess. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time on the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment approved.